Good evening. How are you, Madam President? I'm sorry, Madam Secretary.
My vice president is somewhere here.
Right. I'm so used to saying her name. Councilwoman
Good
Eason,
evening, everyone.
I see you're here. Councilwoman Eason. I'm just asking if you could turn your camera on so we can get this meeting started. Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah.
Yep, that was a quick, I'm here. There we go.
It's just a little tease.
I'm hiding.
I see.
Welcome back.
You couldn't leave us for long. 1, 2, 3.
We're good, Chairman. 1 second.
I'm looking for all the cameras. That's why. And I missed. Oh, there's another page. That's. I thought I saw.
Member Mobley is here, Member Anuka is here,
yes, there
Member
is.
Tour, Council Vice President, and yourself.
Okay, so we have enough to get started at least. So
Yes.
with that, I'm going to call to order this regularly scheduled meeting of the City of Orange Township Planning Board via this remote platform for today, Wednesday, August 28th, 2024. If everyone take a moment and just please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Madam Secretary, have we met the sunshine law?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, in accordance with Chapter 231 of Section 5 of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, notice of this remote public meeting of the Planning Board of the City of Orange Township was filed with Municipal Clerk of the City of Orange Township, posted on the city's bulletin board designated for that purpose, and on all official city website, as well as mailed to the city official newspaper as provided by ordinance.
Thank you. And can I ask you to take attendance, please?
Yes, Chairman, just give me 1 second. I want to make sure that our board recorder is, she's here. All right.
Yep, now this is then, yep.
All right.
I think she was one of the first ones.
All right. Member Foston,
Present.
Member Anuké,
Present.
Member Mobley, Member Mobley, Member Mobley, you are muted. I see you. All right, well, mark him as absent for now. Member Latour,
Present.
Council Vice President Eason,
Present.
Mayor Warren, absent. Vice Chair Jones, she stated she would be absent. Chairman Holmes,
Present.
quorum has been met.
Thank you. Is there any correspondence?
There are no correspondence at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. With that, we'll move the agenda with the first item of, excuse me, to memorialize resolution for extension request for case number 21-03, B&O Urban Renewal Entity LLC, that's 38-60 Berwyn Street. That was included in the packet along with on the in the Dropbox. So I'm sure everyone had an opportunity to review. So is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, in this resolution, Member Foston is not able to vote. He was not present.
Thank you.
I make the motion to for the resolution for extension request for case number 21-03.
We
Second.
have a motion and a second from, I'm sorry, who?
Member Mobley.
Mobley.
Member Mobley. Let the record show that at 7:36, Member Mobley is present. Do we have a second? Are there any questions on the motion? Madam Secretary?
Member Anuké,
Yes.
Member Mobley,
Yes.
Member Latour,
Yes.
Council President Eason,
Abstain.
thank you. Chairman Holmes,
Yes,
motion passes.
thank you. Next up, we have memorialization for the resolution for case number 22-06. Marinville Management LLC, 13-17 Main Street. That's for preliminary major site plan approval.
Motion.
We have a motion from Member Mobley. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Member Anuké. Are there any questions on the motion? Madam Secretary?
Member Fosden, Member Fosden,
Yes.
Member Anuké,
Yes.
Member Mobley,
Yes.
Member Latour,
Yes.
Council Vice President Eason,
Abstain.
Chairman Holmes,
Yes,
motion passes.
thank you. And then we want to memorialize the resolution for case number 23-09. That's PAT 272 LLC, 272 Central Avenue preliminary and final major site plan approval.
Motion.
We have a motion from Mobley
Second.
and a second from Member Latour. Are there any questions on the motion? Madam Secretary?
One second. That was the motion from Member Mobley and second from Latour, Chairman?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. Member Fosden,
Yes.
Member Anuké,
Yes.
Member Mobley,
Yes.
Member Latour,
Yes.
Council Vice President Eason,
Abstain.
Chairman Holmes,
Yes.
motion passes.
Thank you. So our first case for tonight would be case number 24-01. That's 512 Scotland LLC, 512-522 Scotland Road, preliminary major site plan approval.
Mr. Chairman, Attorney Webster is here on behalf of the applicant.
Good evening, Attorney Webster. So good to see you again. And I have to
Good
say, you're looking good,
Thank you, Chairman. Good evening. How are you?
doing well.
Good evening. My name's Leonardo Webster. I'm a partner of the law firm of Collin Foley located in Newark, New Jersey. We represent the applicant 512 Scotland LLC, the developer of the proposed project to be located at 512-522 Scotland Road, which is designated as block 5902, lots 3 and 4 on the Orange tax maps. The property is located within the Central Valley Redevelopment Plan District 4 zone, where the proposed use is permitted. The project is also located within the Montrose Seven Oaks Historic District. We appeared before the Historic District last evening and received a favorable vote for a certificate of appropriateness. As a condition of that approval, we agreed to continue the panels along the rear elevation this evening. So there's a slight modification in our plan. The property is currently improved with a one-story brick frame vacant dental office on the corner and a two-story wood frame residential building located next door at 522 Scotland. The applicant is seeking to demolish those structures, and construct a new 5-story multifamily dwelling consisting of 30 residential units and 30 off-street parking spaces. We are proposing 1 studio unit, 23 one-bedroom units, and 6 two-bedroom units. Amenities include a 2nd floor private roof deck and a 5th floor private roof deck, a rooftop gym and multi-purpose room, and a common roof deck area accessible for all tenants. Originally, the applicant sought to enter into a lease agreement for a portion of the requisite parking spaces at the church next door. However, we weren't able to nail that down. So we're proposing to accommodate all the parking on site utilizing 3 position stackers. The proposed project meets all bulk requirements in District 4 of the Central Valley Redevelopment Plan. The applicant is seeking a design waiver from Section 210-33.2B of the City Code for parking stall area. The applicant's proposed parking stalls are 9 by 18 feet, where 9 by 20 is required. As this board knows from many of the applications that we've done and you've heard in the past, 9 by 18 is the recognized standard in New Jersey. Orange has a 9 by 20 foot requirement, and we'll have both engineering and planning testimony to address that issue. Notice of this application was provided more than 10 days prior to this hearing in the local newspaper of record, the Star Ledger, and provided a certified return receipt requested to all property owners owning property within 200 feet of all directions from the outer boundary of the subject property via certified mail. The return receipt request more than 10 days prior to this hearing. An affidavit of service has also been filed with the board secretary. And I would just ask the board secretary and the board's counsel confirm that we have jurisdiction and this matter lies properly before this board this evening.
Confirmed for notice.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm sorry. I fell into the trap.
Got you. No.
He got a brain shard there. Before we begin, we'll note for the record that I'm also in receipt of a planner's report from Mr. Hazel dated August 12, 2024, an engineering report from Mr. Callahan dated July 28, 2024. Our professionals will stipulate during testimony that the applicant will work to satisfy and address all the conditions and revisions noted therein. Tonight, in support of the application, I'm going to call my architect, Richard Garber, and my professional engineer, Edwin Raymond. Our professionals will provide testimony with respect to the specifics of the project and entertain any questions. And a representative of the applicant is also here this evening. So with that, Madam, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask Richard Garber, our professional architect, to be sworn in and qualified.
Attorney Webster, before you proceed, I just want to let the record show that at 7:42, Mayor Warren has arrived to the meeting. Good evening, Mayor.
Okay, so,
Good evening, all.
Thank you.
all right, Mr. Garber, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, can you please raise your right hand? Do you swear affirm and tell the truth for this planning board tonight?
I do.
Okay, you can lower your hand and Attorney Webster, there you are. Okay, can you please place Mr. Garber's qualifications briefly on the record?
Yes.
Mr. Garber first, I'm sorry. Can you please state and spell your name for the record?
Sure. It's Richard Garber, Garber. My address is 83 Montgomery Street, Jersey City, New Jersey. And I'm a licensed architect in the state of New Jersey. My license is current and I've appeared before this board.
Mr. Garber, would you just please provide the board briefly with the benefit of your background, your training, and your education?
Sure. I have a graduate degree in architecture from Columbia University. I have a practice called Grow Architects that is 18 years old. We've been practicing all over the state, and I've appeared before many boards, both in New Jersey and outside of New Jersey.
Mr. Chairman, based upon Mr. Garber's education, background, and experience, and the fact this license is current and in good standing, I would ask that this board consider Mr. Garber an expert in the field of architecture.
This board will accept Mr. Garber as an expert in architect. And Mr. Garber, your testimony should be limited to that as an architect, right?
Always, of
Thank
course.
you, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Garber, I see you've already shared your screen. Would you walk the board through the plan that you've designed?
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Attorney Webster and Board, for meeting with us. The project, as noted, is 512-522 Scotland Road in Orange. And I'm just going to advance. Can everyone see the screen advancing just to make sure?
Yes.
Okay, great.
And it was, I'm sorry, Mr. Garber, before you get into this. So what, Attorney Webster, if any of these documents are not what's been given to the board, let's just make sure to mark them as we go along.
Mr. Wenzel, would it be appropriate to just mark as applicants A1 the entire package of documents that Mr. Garber will go through? And as is customary, I will provide that set of documents to Board Secretary Reyes tomorrow.
That's fine, Attorney Webster. Let's just place on the record how many pages it is.
Yeah, I don't know, Mr. Garber, how many pages?
It's 31 pages, and these slides, in effect, capture everything represented in the planning board set that was submitted to the planning office. There are 2 additional slides. One is a rendering that was made prior to the Historic Preservation Board to show the logistics of the facade design, and the other is a new rear elevation that shows some very modest updates as suggested by the Historic Board last night.
So is it 31 pages or is it 33 pages?
It's a total of 31 pages, including those 2 new drawings.
All right,
So-
we'll just call it A1, indicating that it's 31 pages, and then, of course, we will rely on Attorney Webster's good offices to get that over to Ms. Reyes.
Thank you, Mr. Wenzel.
Great. Okay, so to continue, the project, you can see it in the Central Valley Redevelopment Plan District 4 with the 1,000-foot radius here. It's highlighted in red, and you see that it's adjacent to the R3 district, which is a somewhat more dense housing district within City of Orange. And we are also very interestingly along a transit corridor, the New Jersey Transit Rail, and that figures prominently not only into our thinking about the building design, but also into the transit-oriented suitability of such a project. You see it's right in the middle, if you can see my mouse, right in the middle of 2 train stops where we've imagined it is, they are between a 10 and 15 minute walk, 15 minutes perhaps to the longer one that is south, and 10 minutes to the stop that is north of us. And in addition, we have 3 bus stops, including one right across the street from us on Scotland Road. You see here the 1,000-foot radii and the 2,500 square foot radii, and that is signaling walkability. And certainly those bus stops are within 1 and 2 minutes of walking. This is a zoom in of the site, and I'm going to return to this image because you do see how prominent the rail tracks are as kind of infrastructure elements along this edge of the redevelopment plan, as I showed before. Some context images. The Historic Board agreed last night that the 2 houses that exist on the site are non-contributing houses. One of them is a sort of 1960s kind of ranch that is used as a dental office, and the other is a slightly older house that is in some disrepair. You can see that house on the left image here, and then on the right image in the slide. We are in the Historic District. As said, we're in the Montrose Seven Oaks Historic District here. We're bordering the Orange Valley Historic District, which is on the other side of the tracks. And you can see where we sit prominently on that kind of edge of blue. Now, this is the existing survey that was given to us, and you can see there is some slope to this land, right? So if you look at the topo and elevation here, we're at about 186 at the corner, And back here, we're at about 192. So there is a kind of pitch to the site, 5-6 feet, something like that, across the site. And we are cognizant of that in proposing an ADA accessible ramp for pedestrian entrance in the front of the building on Scotland Road, as well as a vehicular driveway and drive aisle that is coordinated with the slope of the land that you'll see in a second. Now, to read some information into the record, the total lot area, this is lots 3 and 4, is 9,936.02 square feet. That's about 0.228 acres. The gross building area proposed before you is about 39,734 square feet, slightly under 40,000 square feet. It's a residential occupancy. We list an S occupancy for the parking garage that is on the ground floor. Mentioned already that it is in the Central Valley RDP District 4. Our proposed height, which is complies with the zoning, is 5 stories and 58 feet, and we're proposing 30 units. Of the 30 units, we have 1 studio that's at 564 square feet, 14 one-bedrooms, that's 751 to 799 square feet, and 15 two-bedrooms that are between 1,001 and 1,049 square feet. So this is, in terms of housing diversity, right down the middle, split between 1s and 2s, 1 and 2 bedrooms, with the exception of 1 studio. And you'll see why that unit is a studio. And you'll see they are healthy sized units and consistent with other projects that we've brought before the board, and still other projects that this board has approved. We are proposing 30 parking spaces in the building, 2 ADA spaces, 14 3-position stackers, and that includes 3 EV stations, and that would make 30. So it's a 1-to-1 parking ratio. As Mr. Webster said, there was some hope that there would be some parking immediately adjacent to this lot in the church lot behind us. However, as of this presentation, there is not a lease or agreement in place. I believe that the owner is attempting to work on that, but at this point, we're showing 3-position stackers, which should comply just fine in meeting that requirement. You can see that we have primarily, and I won't read all of this into the record, you can see it, but primarily residential floors. The 2nd through 5th floor are residential. The ground floor is primarily parking, but does contain a lobby, a trash room, some utility rooms, and you can see that. There is a rooftop with amenities, a 454 square foot gym, a 248 square foot multi-purpose space, and just over 800 square feet of common roof deck, which we think is really great. The buildings that are on the site are slated to be demolished. Again, that was discussed with the historic board last night. There were no issues with that. This is our site plan. So the building, I should have said this before, is on Scotland Road in a corner with Hillside. So you see Hillside Avenue is here where we have the vehicular entrance, and we coordinated the location of that curb cut with the elevations. Our main pedestrian or human entry to the space is here, where we have a series of steps up, because we're raising that first floor with the slope, and then that ADA accessible ramp that we built here. We have a 5-foot setback that is greened all around the front corner, as well as a 5-foot setback here against our lot line. You see that we do have an existing 3-story structure that is right on our lot line. So we're separating from that 5 feet as required. This is the rear yard, by the way, because of the corner status. So we have a side yard over here. So we have a 5-foot in the rear yard, a 5-foot in the front on the frontage on Scotland, and a 5-foot in the frontage on Hillside. You see the parking spaces and stackers. You see the elevator, the residential lobby here, as well as some utility and plumbing spaces. The trash room is here. There's a dedicated way out this side walk here to the street for collection days only. We have a lighting plan. We're using fairly typical BK lighting, downlights, as well as recessed linear lighting. That recessed linear lighting is here. And then we have the downlights here. And then this is the proposed trash path that I spoke about from the trash room out this door to Scotland. And the bike path would be accessed from the garage to keep the bikes out of the main lobby. Our first floor, talked about this already, but you see it sort of zoomed in here. You can see that we do have dashed all of the car turning radii that have been worked out with our civil engineer. Electrical room on the corner, trash room is over here, sprinkler and mechanical spaces in the back. And then we have plumbing and utility here. Our lobby is here, accessing directly that elevator and stair A. And we also have the dedicated package room, 123 square feet that I believe will also include some cold storage, which is an amenity that we're seeing increasingly and putting into our buildings, by the way. So I want to go back to here. So I mentioned the 5-foot setback. At the second floor, we are pulling in 6 feet 9 inches. Now that's going to figure prominently as you see the elevation because we are undulating this facade horizontally, and you'll understand why in a moment. Here you see the layouts of the 2 bedrooms in the kind of tan color, the 1 bedrooms in the kind of light pink color. So we mainly have 2 bedrooms flanking the corners here, and then the 1 bedrooms in the rear. Very straightforward and efficient double-loaded corridor with access to both stairs and the elevator, and then some roof deck areas that are shown in green, including this triangular wedge on the corner of Hillside and Scotland. As we go up, the 3rd and 4th floor step back out to that 5 feet. So if you remember, we were at 5 feet on the ground floor. We then stepped into 6'9", and then on the 3rd and 4th floor, we're back out to 5 feet. And then we step back on the 5th floor 10 feet. So we're really kind of undulating horizontally that facade. And the reason, and I'll tell you why in a second. The roof deck is here. You see that 454 square foot gym, the 248 square foot multi-purpose space, and then an 805 square foot roof deck with 2 means of egress. So the elevator and the stairs do have to go up to these tenant accessible public spaces. Now, in terms of our facade, this is a flat, right? A flat drawing, right? It's a 2D drawing. We are, and I'll go through materials and then I'll show you what this looks like shortly. We do have a brick at the base. We have a darker hardy fiber cement slate gray color here. And then on the 3rd, 4th, and 5th floor, we have an Arctic white hardy panel, which are the lighter colored panels, and then a batten hardy system, which if I zoom in, is really a kind of almost like a vertical slat that you see. And the whole idea of the vertical slat is it contrasts the kind of long horizontal design that we've come up with here. Now, the reason why we're doing that, just going to skip ahead for a moment, is when you look at this image, the relationship of the train. And we were on site when one of the double-decker New Jersey Transit trains went blowing by, and I realized actually that that train, that piece of infrastructure, that berm and track, are as much a contextual cue as, if not more, a contextual cue than many of the fairly nondescript structures around us. And this was something that was discussed and agreed to in terms of my assessment by the historic board last night. What I like about this view is you can see all the materials fairly clearly in that we have that brick on the base, and we do have some living green wall proposed here as well. You can see the parking garage entry here. That portion of the facade on the 2nd floor that steps back is a slightly darker gray. And then we have that kind of alpine white color infilling the 3rd and 4th floor, and then the roof, and then that vertical batten hardy that you see here on both Hillside wrapping to Scotland, which we think is quite dramatic. We think that this is a long building, and you're going to follow the ribbon windows, much like you follow the ribbon windows of the New Jersey Transit trains that actually pass. So we think that the building is actually addressing its fairly privileged, in my opinion, context by giving a nod in terms of its facade design to that train. These are some other renderings we have. This is a kind of day view and a night view where you actually see that that brick at the base wraps up. And so we're dealing with the kind of depth of this site by going from a kind of horizontal read on the front corner of Hillside and Scotland, and then a more vertical read with punched windows that you see on the side here. And when I go backwards to those elevations, you'll see what that looks like. So this is the front elevation. Now this is the rear. This is actually not the rear. This is technically a side elevation, but this is the back of the building parallel to Scotland Avenue. We had just proposed it as a monotone building that is actually blocked by some trees on the adjacent church site. We've updated that to have brick sort of in this L shape at the base and coming up the top. So that brick that you saw in the rendering wraps. And then we've actually have that vertical batten Hardy system delineating the floors. So using the system in a slightly different way, but really delineating that kind of horizontality in the rear, in the this back elevation over here. And you can see where that is with the mouse. The side elevations you saw in the renderings were kind of carrying the materials around on Hillside. And then on the other side elevation, which is technically the rear, we just have stucco because we're so close to that adjacent non-conforming lot line building that I spoke about. We've provided updated, zoomed in elevations that showed some basic detailing and dimensions of windows of the Hardy batten system, which is this here, as well as the green wall and the parking, as well as some patio spaces with vertical railings and so forth here. And then I think I'll end with this image, which, as I said, the historic board was quite excited about. I'm excited about. We actually made this in anticipation for the historic board to really address the unique siting of this structure. And I hope you'll agree. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have no further questions for Mr. Garber, so I yield him to you.
Thank you. I'll turn it over to any board members if they have any questions. And there will be an opportunity for the public to speak, but you have to wait until the public portion is open. Right now, there's questions from any board member for Mr. Garber.
Yes, if I may, Chair.
Member Latour?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Garber. I have a quick question. If vehicles traveling north on Scotland Road and someone is coming on Hillside, how is there a blind side for that that wall that right there?
That's a great question. So the answer is no, and I don't have a graphic that shows this, but if you see what we're doing, and let me go back to the site plan.
Is it recessed?
It's recessed. That's right. That's right. So what's happening is if I zoom in, the whole site is here.
Okay.
So we are taking a 5-foot setback, making the sidewalk depth. I think the sidewalk depth is 12. And so when you add, and even if it's, let's call it 10, let's err on the side of caution. We'll have 5 feet. So there's a 15-foot open aisle on both Scotland and Hillside. We then have a modest planter before we start our building. So I'm not a traffic engineer, but we were cognizant of that. And then what we've also done is we've actually canted, we've clipped the corner a little bit here to actually increase that view width, as you see. So I don't anticipate it being an issue. And I also don't anticipate, given the relatively small size of the project, that there's going to be a lot of activity into and out of that driveway with the 30 cars.
Okay. And I'm assuming those planters are gonna be the trees, they're gonna be shrubbery and not trees that's gonna grow up to 10 feet tall.
Correct.
Okay.
Manicured shrubbery vegetation.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions from any other board member? Just, for my own, this is a 5-story, development. And a lot of the properties in that area are 3-story houses. Why did you opt for 5 stories?
I mean, I can, obviously, there's a metric that the developer wants to meet. My job as an architect is to review your as of right zoning, and in this case, that's set forth by the redevelopment plan that we're bound to, and looking to design a building that conforms to and meets the standards and goals of the plan. And the standards and goals of this plan for this site set forth 5 stories and 58 feet.
I know it is allowed, it just seems out of place with the neighboring properties, but thank you. Anything else for Mr. Garber from any board member? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, my next witness is Edward Raymond, my engineer.
We need Mr. Garber to stop sharing.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, Mr. Garber, if you could stop sharing. Thank you.
Okay, Attorney Webster, who is your next witness?
Edwin Raymond. He's my engineer.
Okay, Mr. Ramon, are you there?
I am.
Okay. All right, Mr. Ramon, can you please raise your right hand? Do you swear affirm to tell the truth for this planning board tonight?
I do.
Okay. Can you please state and spell your name for the record?
Edwin Raymond, Reimon.
Okay. And Attorney Webster, let's have Mr. Ramon's qualifications on briefly.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Wenzel. Mr. Ramon, good evening. Would you
Good
please
evening.
provide the board with your educational background, with your experience, and also indicate whether if you have a license in New Jersey and whether that license is in good standing?
Yes. I am a licensed engineer in New Jersey since 1994. I have a bachelor's degree in civil engineering from the University of Havana in 1979. I have 39 years of experience in civil engineering in the United States. I have practiced myself since 2014.
Mr. Ramon, is your license current and in good standing?
It is.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I would offer Mr. Ramon as a expert in the field of civil engineering.
Just a question from Mr. Marimo. You said you've been practicing in the States for 19 years? I'm sorry, how many?
I have been practicing in the United States since 1985.
85. Okay.
Licensed in New Jersey since 1994. Private business since 2014.
That's where I got it. Okay, 2014. I knew that.
10 years now.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you. This board will accept you as an expert in engineering, and your testimony, Mr. Raymond, will be limited to that as a civil engineer.
Yes, it is.
Okay. And before we, Attorney Webster, Miss Aisha Samuel, if you could put your hand down on, and there will be an opportunity for you to raise your hand during the public portion. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sir Ramon, I know you've had a chance to review the site, and I'm going to ask you to just briefly walk the board through the existing condition, and then let's walk them through the proposed condition. So if you could just share your screen and let's do that. I think we can push through this pretty quickly.
And once again, Attorney Webster, whatever has not been presented to the board, we'll mark that if it's a package A2.
You got it. Yes, sir.
I'm sharing now the screen.
Yep.
Can you see that drawing?
Not yet. We see the underlying screen that shows the drop-down menu from your computer system.
I think it might be your other window that you're trying to show.
Yeah.
And drag it into if you have two monitors.
Oh, yeah, hold on. Still doesn't show, huh?
Your screen is being shared, but it's your I guess your drives. It doesn't show the actual drawing.
The actual drawing doesn't show, huh?
Yeah.
Oh. Let's see again. Let's try to open it again. Let's see.
The engineers have too many screens. That's the problem.
I have 3 actually. This is bad. Yeah, let's see which one is showing up now. Okay. I still doesn't grab it, right?
No, we're still seeing your drop-down menus.
Hmm.
I don't know if Richard or Jody from my office, you can share the
Yeah.
existing
Edwin,
site.
do we have your files? Did you send them to us by any chance?
Yes, you have all my files. Let's see if
I can try, guys. 1 second, please. I'm sorry, give me 1 second. I think it's in the calendar.
Ooh.
Yeah, I don't. Jody, do you see?
Yeah, Jody's logging into our
Okay,
system.
I got it. I got it. So hold on. That's an application, 30 units.
Yeah, we're logging in now.
Okay.
Jesus Christ. I don't know why it's not coming up.
So I don't have it. It seems I have
We're pulling it up, guys. Jody's gonna pull it up and share.
I'm sorry, but I don't know why it's not grabbing my drawings. You can only see my file folder, right?
Yes.
This is very strange. Never ever happened before.
Why don't you stop sharing and let's let Jody share, and then we'll move on real quick.
Participants. Everybody's here. Look at this.
Mr. Chair.
Member Foston?
Yeah, do they have another witness? We can move and we can come back to.
We're gonna wait. We're gonna be patient.
There we go. There we are. All right, we can see what you've got, Mr. Raymond. Why don't you walk us through it? Edwin, can you hear me?
He's muted.
Edwin, unmute.
I just said I am muted.
You are now, yeah, you are not, now you are unmuted and you are sharing your screen.
Oh my God.
We're good. We're good.
All right. So let me just make this quick. I'm sorry again. My apologies. Existing conditions is on the screen right now. This is the drawing that the engineer from the board has some comments. One of the comments was to include a title block for the signatures of the chairman, the secretary, and the engineer to the board. I added that. There was one comment in regards to the setbacks of existing buildings to the property lines. I believe that Richard already took care of that on his drawings. If the engineer from the board still believes that I should put it on my drawings too, it's a duplicate, but I have no problem with that. I didn't want to just add things that is duplicate, but I can do that too. That's not a problem. So as you can see here in green is what is called open space, which is typically grass permeable surfaces where the water can get through. We, the engineers, use that to quantify what is going through the soils, what is going to be going into the drainage system in the street or things like that. Going to the next drawing quickly is a site plan. You're going to see at the very bottom of all the drawings something called A11. That is a code that we use for the utilities for a mark out before any construction start. The contractor is by law required to call these numbers to get a mark out for all the underground utilities, so he doesn't mess up the water, the electric, the gas, or anything else. So the existing conditions in here is showing. We are trying to maintain the strip of grass that is between, I believe it's a nice touch, between the curb on the street and the sidewalk. We're maintaining the sidewalk at 4 feet wide. We have an additional strip of grass between the sidewalk and the property line. And then after that, we have what Richard showed in his rendering, like a raised wall, not very high, I would say between 2 feet and 2.5 feet high, to keep in place a very nice landscaping that we have for this project at the front and the side of the building. This landscaping is being kept in place with this wall that we have in the next drawing that I'm going to show you. You're going to see the elevations that we have at the top of this wall or high curb, whatever you want to call it, and the bottom where it touches the grass at the bottom. We have one nice touch on this project is that we have only one driveway now. The driveway is more than 50 feet away from the intersection of Scotland Road and Hillside Avenue. In the existing conditions, we had two driveways, which now is, to me, is very good that we have only one driveway. And not only that, the driveway is on the side street, not on Scotland Road, which has more traffic. In regards to this site plan, I can also add that there was a question from one of the commissioners in regards to site distance. So you know the height of the retaining wall that we have, or the high curb at the intersections, is less than 2 feet. The minimum height of a side triangle for a car that is at the intersection looking to the left for the traffic that is coming toward the car is 3.5 feet from the ground to the side of the driver in the vehicle. The distance between the driver and the edge of the travel way by standards of NJDOT is 14.5 feet. In this case, we have a parking lane on the approach on the closed side of the project that is about 8 feet wide, right? And then on top of that, we have the sidewalk and we have the two grass strips that we have between the sidewalk and the curb and between the sidewalk and the property line. So we have more than enough distance in here to maintain adequate side distance for any traffic coming toward Hillside Street for a car that is going out at Hillside. So that settled the issue about side distance. Another item that we have on this on the site plan is that we maintaining, as per requirement by the architect, maintaining a strip of concrete on the site for access to the building, and that is going to come out to Scotland Road. The drawing also shows all the type of plants that we are proposing for the project, and we, so you know, we are providing also in this landscaping annuals that are going to be at the front. And also because of side distance, we're doing that because the annuals are very low rise, so it's not a problem. I'm going to move on to the next drawing, which is the grading, drainage, and utility plan. On this drawing, you're going to see that we have spot elevations all along Scotland Road and also Hillside Avenue. We're defining the cross slope for the sidewalk that is meeting a standard for ADA, 2% maximum. We are not replacing entire sidewalk on Hillside because the sidewalk is in excellent condition on all the way from where we start the driveway to the intersection with Scotland Road, but the rest of that is going to be replaced. All sidewalk and curb on Scotland Road is going to be replaced. We are going to reseed and straw mulch and put topsoils as needed as we're doing the repairs or reconstruction of the sidewalk and the curb. One more thing about the grading, drainage, and utility plan is that we are providing a stormwater management system to collect the water from the roof that I'm going to explain later what we have up there. But we are going to provide what is called a stormwater management system, which is a pipe 2.5 feet in diameter. I believe that we have, I'm going to zoom in here. It says 80 linear feet of 30 inches HDPE, high density polyvinyl pipe. That is going to go to the outer structure that is 5x7. And from there, we're going to connect to one of the inlets that is right at the corner with a 6 inches PVC. The calculation for the stormwater management was reviewed already by the board engineer. Everything, I believe, it is very good because we are reducing the peak flows coming into these inlets. In regards to the existing utilities and proposed utilities, as I mentioned before, everything is already in place. We are putting new taps for the water, one for the fire protection and one for the water service, the domestic service. This is coming from Scotland Road. We are coming in on the side of the road that is where the parking lane is. So it's going to be minimum impact to the traffic on Scotland Road to install these water mains in here. And remember, the water is typically 4 feet deep only. We bring in the sewer and the gas on the side street, Hillside Avenue. We have 6 inches PVC coming in from the building at 2% minimum slope. Okay. The pipe on Hillside is 8 inches. So we are good. And these are all the proposed conditions on this area of the project. We have also underground conduits from an existing pole that is going into the building. We call it a riser. It's going to come from the pole down on the ground and from there coming into the building. It's typically a 3 inches rigid non-metallic conduit We can put up to 6 wires inside. Then moving along to the lighting plan, we have very nice, and Richard, I'm sure that he showed already on his presentation the type of lighting that we have in that nighttime rendering. We have a strip, which is a lighting strip that we're gonna put in the area of the driveway here along this side of Hillside Avenue to provide lighting. As you can see on this photometrics, the different colors that you see here means that the intensity of the light, let's say the purple or the closest to the curve is the least intense. The red is the highest intensity on the lighting. And also you have spots, photometrics on the foot candles. It was also reviewed by the board engineer. We also have a soil erosion and sediment control plan. It's typical to submit these projects to the Hudson Essex Passaic Soil Conservation District for review. And then we have all the details. In these details, we address comments also from the engineer in regards to the handicap space detail that shows the type of cross hatching, the painting, the symbol for the handicap, the sign for the handicap. Okay, all that is there. We also have the concrete wall detail that explain how this wall is gonna be built. And also we have the outlet structure detail. This is the structure for the stormwater management. We also have the detail of the flow regulating drain that we're gonna have in the roof. This is for the blue roof, and that is gonna be shown in the next drawing. One of the things that we have been doing in the last, I would say, 3 or 4 years is incorporating into the roof of buildings either a blue roof or a green roof to control the stormwater into the drainage system so we can reduce the peak flow. So in this drawing that you see here, which is my last drawing of the set, you can see that we have in blue and in pink, we have the 2 areas of blue roof. What it does is that the water, when the water gets into these areas, it goes into these red dots, which are the drains. And going back to the previous drawing, you can see that, let me zoom in. You can see that this drain here, this detail shows that there is you see this half a circle here is because it's cut. So there is an orifice in a riser inside the drain. That orifice by rules, by the NJDEP rule for stormwater management, cannot be less than 2.5 inches in diameter. So we have a 2.5 inches diameter orifice in this drain in here to control the flow that is going into the street. In addition to that, we have the regular roof in here. And that roof, whatever is in white in here, is going into a stormwater tank, and it's going to be controlled by that outer structure that we show here on this drawing. Oh, no, here it is. Okay, so we have a weir, and we have an orifice again, 2.5 inches orifice in here, and the 30 inches pipe. And the water is controlled by this orifice, and all these calculations are provided in what is called the stormwater management report that was submitted for review to the engineer. And this is basically my presentation. 9 drawings.
Let's mark the 9 drawings as applicants A2. Which is a set of 9 drawings that we will provide again to the board secretary tomorrow. And I guess the drawings are titled What's the cover sheet say? The C?
It's well, it's 512, 522 Scotland Road, block and lot numbers. That's it. That's what we typically on civil engineering drawings, we typically put the address and the block and lot number, so there is no confusion.
What's the date of that?
There is a revision date on most of the drawings based on the comments from the engineer, so I can give you the date right now. I think it's on, let me look at C3 or C4. Yeah, it's 8, where is it? 8/8/2024.
Thank you.
You're
So
welcome.
we will provide you with a set of 9-page drawings from the civil engineer dated 8/8/2024. Mr. Chairman, I have no further questions for this witness.
All right, and I will open up to any board member that has any question for Mr. Raymond. Any questions from any board members? All right. All right, seeing none. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Mr. Chairman, I have no further witnesses for this application.
Okay. Then we can open up to our board professionals. And since it's fresh, I'm going to ask Mr. Cahalan if you could speak to some of the things that Mr. Ramon was speaking to and address any
John,
other.
can you raise your right hand? Do you swear firm tell the truth for this planning board tonight?
I do.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Callahan.
Thank you. Excuse me. Good evening, everyone. Yes, as the applicant's professionals noted, they did receive my report dated July 30th, 2024. And in their revisions in the exhibits presented tonight, they did address a great number of the items. One piece in particular, and I can ask either Mr. Garber or Mr. Ramon, whoever's more comfortable with this, mentioned now the inclusion of, I believe, triple stack parking. Is that, and the intent for that to be 3 spaces for 3 vehicles or 3 spaces for 2 vehicles?
No, it's meant to be 3 spaces. It's 2 spaces.
Mhm.
But when we say 3 position, it means that the stacker, if you can see my hands, to get the top car down, the whole system moves down into a pit. So the top car can be pulled out. So it's a 2-car stacker that actually has 3 positions: a below surface position, an at surface position, and an above surface position. And that allows the stackers to be operated just by the car owner or the car leaser or whatever. And as such, it's a very efficient system. There's no tandem parking. There's no waiting or person that has to come and help people, shuttle cars or anything like that. These are suitable for the operation that we have before us, and we're using them in many urban and urbanizing areas for this purpose.
Great, thank you. That is what I had suspected. I just wanted to get that clarified on the record. And I do also concur with Mr. Ramon's statements regarding required orifice sizes and stormwater management and the like. And so with that, that's about all I have, unless the board members have any questions for me.
If I may just add something to that, just to, since we're getting this on the record. I mentioned before, as did Mr. Webster, that, there has been some outreach to existing adjacent lots to set up a parking agreement. At the time of this presentation, there is not one in place. Obviously, if one is in place, that would preclude the use of the stackers so long as we maintain a 1-to-1 parking ratio. I believe the owner would prefer pursuing that. So everyone understands the goal here is to provide 1-to-1 parking. We have a technical solution that we're showing in building However, if some adjacent availability occurs, I think the owner would follow up with that.
Okay, great. And then I'll piggyback on that. And then if should that agreement come into place, and should the board see fit to approve this application, I'd recommend that agreement be provided as a condition of approval.
And we do not object to that condition as a condition of approval. There was one thing, that we, I forgot to elicit in testimony, and I'm not sure if this is Richard or Edwin, was the issue with the differentiation of the parking, the driveway, and the lighting and sound to warn pedestrians. Is that something, Richard, that you can speak to?
Edwin, you can take that one probably, right?
Edwin, you're on mute.
Attorney
So,
Wenzel,
okay, yes.
Attorney Wenzel, I just want to check the concern, make sure that we're still in order.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so let me just stop. So Ms. Callahan has indicated that he's done with his comments, and because of his comments, that may have refreshed Attorney Webster's recollection about some testimony. So he's really calling Mr. Ramon back on the engineering testimony. So why don't we hear from Mr. Ramon in furtherance of his comments in response to Mr. Callahan.
Very well, thank you.
Okay, so we have provided during construction document, we have provided a device with noise and also with like a type of flashing at the driveway. When the door opens, automatically that device triggers. Okay, so that is part of the engineering, but that mechanism is typically included during the construction document because it's typically by an MEP, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing engineers, that they put this package together. I mean, I have no problem showing a dot on the drawing, but I'm saying that this specific device is very common, and actually it could be in the condition of approval that the building doesn't get a CO unless this device is installed. But it's typically done during the construction documents at the time the project is going to get permits for construction.
So I know that that's one of the planning issues that Mr. Hazel always brings up. So I just wanted to get that in our case in chief. So we will add that to the drawings, and we will also have it as a condition of a certificate of occupancy that the device that alerts pedestrians with light and sound is part of the plan.
Exactly, yes.
Thank you. I have no further. Thank you, Mr. Wenzel, and thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have no further questions.
You're welcome, thank you. So with that, are there any questions from any board member for Mr. Cahalan? All right, seeing none. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Hazel. Good to see you again.
All right, Mr. Hazel, do you swear firm tell the truth for this planning board tonight?
I do.
You want to try that again, Jerry? Because I couldn't hear you.
I do.
Okay, there you go. All right, I got worried about you a second. All right, go ahead.
Yes. Thankfully, I think that my couple issues that I had were covered before by Mr. Cahalan and as well by Mr. Webster in terms of the device at the ingress egress to the garage. Also the parking situation. Again, I would reiterate, as Mr. Cahalan did mention, that in the event that the applicant does decide to go with an off-site arrangement, that the agreement be provided to the board board attorney for approval or for review and comment. Other than that, the other issue I had was with the landscaping. I noted that there was landscaping proposed and very nicely detailed, but I could not, for the life of me, anywhere on the plans, find the key to the notations. So that has been addressed. So I'm thankful for that. Other than that, I don't have any other questions at this time. Or comments, I should say, at this time.
Thank you, sir. Now we're going to come to the question. Are there any questions for any board members for Mr. Hazel?
Yeah, I have one, Chair.
Member Foston.
Yeah, I want to ask Mr. Izo whether there is enough front setback to allow the cars coming from Hillside Avenue to see cars coming from coming from this Scotland Road. I know that I know one of the witnesses responded to that question already, but as a board technician, or how do you see that mostly the way that building is designed? Do you think there is no inconvenience about the cars coming all over either Hillside or Scotland?
Okay, it's in a word, yes, and I think for the reasons that the applicant's engineer did articulate, that the building itself is set back from the property line, so there is some clearance there. Not to mention the corner itself is sort of angled in, so that it does allow for cars coming around the corner to see, in my opinion.
Anything else for Mr. Hazel? Any board member? Just a quick question, Mr. Hazel. Do you think it would be necessary to have coming out of the driveway of the development, a right turn only sign, or would the left turn be safe to maneuver?
Yeah, I looked at that and I was a little concerned about that, but looking at the distance itself from the corner, it's just approximately about the same distance from the corner that the property across the street is. I was concerned about some conflict there, but I think that, the distance is far enough that it should be okay. One can always consider doing the right turn only, but I'm not sure that I don't feel as though it's necessary because of the distance from the corner.
All right. Thank you. Anything else from any board member? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
With that, I'll entertain a motion to open the public portion of this application.
Motion to open public portion.
You have a motion from Member Mobley. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Member Foston. Are there any questions on the motion? All those in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone that opposes
Aye.
opening the public portion of this application? Seeing none, public portion is now open. If there's anyone that would like to speak to this application, please, first of all, turn your camera on, make sure your camera is on and your sound. State your name for the record and your address and any concern that you may have. But before we do that, I'm going to ask Attorney Webster, would you like a closing after?
I think I would like to close after we hear the public testimony and
All right,
then
great. Thank you.
response to any questions the public might have.
All right, very good. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Madam Secretary,
Yes, Ms. Reed, Vermont, it's first.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Mary Reed Claremont, and I reside at 483 Hillside Avenue within the 200 feet district from this project. and I received the appropriate notification. I have a couple of questions and one comment. My first question is, was a traffic study done for this project? And what were the indications, criteria, description, etc.? The second thing is that it has been determined by the Orange activities that the developers, even though they have been allowed the one parking space per unit, the developers have been charging the tenants for this parking space. Is this what is going to happen with this situation? Because there's a tremendous problem on Hillside Avenue because of the church and other activities on the street with parking and the level of density. So I need to know what this developer's attitude or plans are for parking. Are they going to charge? My third situation is with the bulk standards. According to the bulk standards for District 4 in the process with the situation, there are two areas, the side back, which there are the rear yard. There's a 0 side back with that, and also to the left of that to the apartment buildings. And I would like to see the plans. I'd like for the architect to present the plans to show us the side back, the setbacks, and how it impacts the property for the residents, particularly the one in the back and the one on the left if you're facing the building on from Scotland Road. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reed Learmont. Attorney Webster, do you have anyone that would like?
Yeah. My understanding is that a traffic study was not required because of the number of cars that and the size of the units. My understanding is the developer will be allocating the spaces as part of the unit's rental. So it'll be one space allocated. So when you rent a unit, you get a space. So there won't be additional parking charges. And I'm not sure about the bulk standard questions. I guess if Mr. Garber would, I guess, share a screen again and just show. I'm not sure that there's a building to the left. If we're on Scotland Road, I think there's a building to the right. If we're on Scotland Road, but I think we can show the two adjacent buildings and the proximity of our building to those buildings.
Yeah, I'm not able to share my screen.
Okay. Let's see. I'm trying to think. Edwin, is it? I'm afraid that
I just need to be enabled.
I got it.
No,
Okay.
it's coming.
I just gotta keep the security here.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't know it was I didn't. Okay, great.
So one can see here, this is a site plan that I showed. I spoke about block 5902, tax lot 2. The existing 3-story wood frame building is right on the lot line. That's an existing non-conforming use that we are working with, and we are setting back our building from it. And then in the rear, block 5902, tax lot 6 sits in a kind of, a kind of slightly, it's oriented toward Hillside Avenue, but you can see because of the irregular shape of our lot, we are varying distances away from it only on the ground floor.
So my question is, how many feet are these setbacks? You said that you are honoring them, but how many feet are you allowing?
Sure, I'll show you my zoning tabulation.
Because the criteria says 0. And
Yeah.
I want to see how many are you allowing, if you are allowing any.
So okay. So there's a couple of questions. So let me unpack that. So first of all, I'm going to show the zoning tabulation chart, which is, 1 second, please. Yeah, excuse me 1 second. I don't have the zoning tabulation chart in this presentation for some reason, but that's fine. So it is 0 on the side, right? So as I said before, this is a front yard, just to understand what we're talking about. This is a front yard on Hillside. This is a front yard on Scotland. This is a side yard
On
Hillside. And this is a rear
how many
yard
feet? How
on
many
Hillside.
feet?
Mhm.
How many feet
Ma'am,
are the side yard on Scotland?
I'm getting to that, okay?
Okay.
We are at 0 on our lot line per the allowable bulk standards, okay? But when we go up to the adjacent floors, you see, okay, I'm gonna advance slide, so I want you to see this. Here's the building, here's our lot line on the ground floor. And when I advance it, you see that we have a 6'6" setback from that lot line that carries around, and then we are at 0 here. And I do have a dimension, which we are showing at approximately 4 feet 4 at the corner and 5 feet at the kink, call it, right? And those are voluntary setbacks that we're doing where we're pulling our building in to give that building, which again is somewhat awkwardly sited given the shape of our lot. And by doing so, from a building code point of view, and I don't know if you're asking this or not, from a building code point of view, we are not jeopardizing any legal light and air for either the existing building, which is sited in a non-conforming way, I would say, nor our proposed building here.
Okay, my other question then is, why wasn't a traffic study conducted? And if there will be one before this proposal is approved? And I really need to see, because you presented a proposal to the Historic Commission back in May. And not you, I'm not saying you, but the proposal was presented from your process. And they had described a 30-unit building. But when you actually looked at the amount of units that were planned, it totaled to 36. So I would just like to see the description of the units that you currently have in this proposal. So I have 2 questions: traffic study and the current list of proposals.
And Ms. Reed, you are out of time, so this will have to be your last question, but I will give them an opportunity to address your question.
This is
Thank
my
you.
last question. Thank you.
So I believe we presented this plan last night to the Historic Commission, and we presented it as a 30-unit plan.
No, I got one in May. I got a notice from
Ms.
you
Reed,
in May.
Please allow him to answer.
Okay. Okay.
Please. Thank you.
8:55 p.m.
So I'm not sure. The notice may have gone out, and I'm not sure if the project had been modified, but the project was presented last night as a 30-unit project, still a 30-unit project. It's not 36 units. Per the law, no traffic report is required. It's permitted use with no additional density, and the parking ratio meets the standard. So a traffic study is not required.
All right, Madam Secretary. Thank you, Ms. Reed Lermont. Madam Secretary, who's next?
That would be Noria Gibbs.
Ms. Gibbs, if you can turn your camera on. And state your name and address for the record, please.
Nordy Gibbs, 206 Tremont in Orange.
I'm sorry, what was the address?
206 Tremont.
26?
206.
206, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Okay. So I believe I heard something about a light and like a sound device for the, I guess maybe the garage door, like an indicator for pedestrians. I think I missed the first part of the meeting because I was driving. Is the driveway like two width, like an in and out for cars? That's number one. And two, the current setback for the existing building, I think it's the dental office, coming off of Scotland Road. Does anyone know what that is right now? And what that difference is with the new building going up? I used to live on Hillside. I find this turn, especially turning left from Hillside to Scotland, most vehicles are kind of coming out a little bit into the road, especially when the shrubs were a little bit, there, because it's on an angle. So I wanted to try to visualize a building going up, someone coming down Hillside, attempting to make a left on Scotland. I'm curious as to what that sight line is for the cars coming up. So those are my two questions. And I wanted to also ask about, I guess, the sensitivity of the light and the noise. I mean, for the most part, this is a residential tax-paying community. You're putting a building, residents are coming in and out all times of day, all times of night. You're having the sound go off. You're having the lights flickering. I've never seen it. I'm just learning about it now. So I'm just curious as to if this will cause any disturbance to the already existing community members there. That's all my question.
It's not a loud sound. It's not a bright light. It's essentially to alert people. In the daytime, you really can't even see the light. That's why the sound is there. It's basically just to alert people who are in the driveway that the driveway, because we don't want people walking down the sidewalk or walking up the sidewalk not to be alert that the garage door is coming up and the car may or may not be crossing. So in Orange, it's become a common practice. And to be quite honest, most of the mixed-use development projects that we're doing in North Jersey require us to have this device. So it's become a common device. It's a small device. It has a little bit of a light. So at nighttime, you'll see the light flicker. And it's really not, I mean, if you're looking, I guess, at the building, you can see it, but it's not going to impact people who are across the street or up the street. It's not that bright and it's not that loud. It's really just for people who are walking on the street in front of the building at that time. I don't know the dimensions of the current setbacks. I don't know if Richard or Edwin can show the existing condition. And again, I do know there are some shrubs there. I don't know if our existing condition plan shows those shrubs there. But as you've heard from our engineer, the site triangle that is required is sufficient. Your planner and your engineer have already signed off on that. So according to law, there's a site triangle that's required, and that site triangle has been satisfied.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you can see that, if I may, here. And I testified to this prior, that we're maintaining at the first floor here, excuse me, a dedicated 5-foot setback. And the sidewalk, I don't have a dimension on this. I think the sidewalk is about 12 feet in my estimate. But what I suggested on the record before is if we conservatively say it's 10 feet, 10 feet plus 5 feet is 15 feet, which is a fairly large distance. It's about the width of almost of 2 cars, basically, in terms of that sight line. So we're not anticipating there would be any issues with that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gibbs. Madam Secretary, who do we have next?
Peter Lamont, Chairman.
Peter
Lamont.
Lamont. If you can turn your camera on. And Ms. Gibbs, you can put your hand down. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. My name is Peter Lamont. I live in 483 Hillside Avenue in Orange, New Jersey.
You said 483?
483 Hillside Avenue in Orange, New Jersey.
And can you turn your camera on?
Oh, is it? Okay, it doesn't want to go on. It's not starting.
Okay. Then you can go, whatever concerns you have, questions you may have.
I just can't get the camera on now.
That's fine. Go ahead. You can
Yes,
proceed.
I've been a resident here for close to 43 years or so. And the time that I've been here, I've seen the traffic going from just a trickle to what it is today. We're on any given Sunday, the street can be packed from Scotland Road all the way up to Berkeley Avenue with traffic on this street. Put in a 5-story, 30-unit building there and bringing in another 130 or 40 residents with whatever extra cars that they're going to bring. You're putting a burden on the residents here, you're putting a burden on the school system because they're going to have to do something more with the school. You're putting a big burden on the traffic pattern here. Now here, the young lady said that she has a problem. She lives on Hillside Avenue. I live here. And I do have a problem going down to Hillside Avenue and turning left to go south on Scotland Road. There's a major problem there by during rush hours. I will have to go all the way up and go down to a traffic light in order to make a easy turn. The other issue I have is a personal concern. I have an issue here where a few years ago I broke my leg and the traffic was not as bad as it is right now, and the density was not as bad as it is right now. I broke my leg and the ambulance had to back almost half a block down the street, walk with the gurney up to get into my house to bring me out, and then bring me back down the street on a gurney because there was church service going on and there was no way to park and even move anything. So if you bring this building here, and guaranteed you may have 30 parking spaces, but everybody having a car or two, maybe 2 or 3 cars, you put in another 30 or 40 cars on the street, and there's absolutely no place to park right now. That's my comment, and that's my and the question that I have is, can't you all find a better way to develop this? Maybe like a couple of townhouses that would create home ownership in the neighborhood instead of bringing a mass amount of people at the time. Thank you very much, and I'll close from now.
Thank you, Mr. Lamont. Attorney Webster, is there anyone that you would like to, nothing to address?
I think we've already addressed it. I mean, we've addressed the parking issue, we've addressed the parking study. I don't have anything to address, and I'm not sure about, you know, the church parking. I'm not sure.
All right, thank you, sir.
Mr.
Madam Secretary.
Chairman.
Yes.
Aisha Samuel.
Is it Aisha? Yeah, unmute. You'd have to unmute first.
I was trying to get to the unmute button. For some odd reason, I have to push a bunch of buttons. I mean, I have to touch my phone in a certain way in order for that to pop up. Aisha Samuel, 401 Highland Terrace.
And your concerns?
Okay, so my concern is that there are already enough apartment buildings in Orange. Hillside Avenue is 2 blocks from me. I've been in my house for 6 years, and people still get towed from my driveway. So I can't even imagine what the people on Hillside are actually going to have to go through once this apartment building has been built, because they already have issues with the church. And if you know anything about churches, churches are usually like, pretty much every single day there's something going on, especially at that church in particular, from what I hear and from what I've observed. So adding an apartment building on Hillside is not the way to go. If you guys want to add something on Hillside, then you need to add like maybe 2 single-family homes, or maybe 2 family homes or something like that, but not an apartment building. We already have enough apartment buildings coming up in Orange, and we already have a parking issue. And we also have a traffic issue as well. And a traffic study not being done for an apartment building, regardless of whether it's only 5 apartments or 100 apartments, that still should have been done, because anybody who actually lives here understands that traffic has just gotten extremely bad in the last 2 years, especially with them building this new building called the Highland on Highland and Lincoln. And then there's also already existing buildings up there in that same area. So now that's just getting worse. There's more traffic, there's more people, and we don't need that. What we need is single family homes. We need people who pay taxes, and that's what we need. We don't need another apartment building. And that's all. Oh, wait, sorry, I do have questions though. How tall is the building?
Building is 58 feet tall.
Okay, 58 feet tall. And let me see. Are you guys going to be asking for a pilot or any variances?
There's no variances required, and the pilot has not been determined.
So when you say it has not been determined, that means possibly?
It's not been determined.
Okay, so then we don't need any more apartment buildings that need pilots. Let me add that too. And I'm done. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Samuel. And next up is Richard Martha.
Richard Martha, Mr. Chairman.
Good evening, Richard Martha, 740 McLaughlin Place. My question is in regards to this particular building, of which I assume the developers are not from Orange, not in Orange. There is what we're seeing with a lot of the new developments in town is that the parking is on the ground level, which I think is quite a curious solution for the parking problem. It is a solution, but it's a curious one, because when I moved to this area almost 20 years ago, there was talk of a revitalization of the valley. And I've yet to see that happen after 19 years. So my question really is, what goes into the determination to replace a commercial building with only residential units? And in addition to that, I would like to add that the southern end of that block has stores. I believe there's a corner store there, and there's some other commerce there on the ground level. And so if people continue on that sidewalk and past this building, they're going to be looking into a gray parking garage. And you can dress it up with some greenery. That's all nice and well, but it's still a parking garage. It will still offer no commercial activity. It will offer no jobs to anybody living in Orange. Basically, this thing is a money drain, especially if a pilot is afforded to this developer. So I would like to know what goes into the decision making for this building and for a lot of other developments in general. And if you wanted to use an example, the Freeman Street building that recently went up is a prime example. I drove by there on a Saturday night. There were a group of about 10 young people standing outside in front of the entrance, basically with nowhere to go, because that whole block is now covered by a parking lot on the ground floor, which is so short-sighted. I can't even, I need somebody to explain it to me because I just can't see it. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard.
Mr. Chairman is. You're muted, Mr. Chairman. Do we
Yes.
move forward to the
Yes.
next person? Rachel Tennant?
Yes, Rachel Tennant, 461 Waverly Place. I have a lot of concerns. Let me just say this first. In nursing, they say if it's not documented, it never happened. But in this case, it seems like if you don't address the issue, you don't have to do anything about it. That's why there's no traffic study. It's obvious that this area needs a traffic study because I've driven down Hillside and cars on both sides. I'm surprised if once this development goes up, hopefully it does not, but an average fire truck is about, I don't know, 8 to 10 feet wide. And with the traffic, I'm concerned if a fire truck can pass. And if a fire truck cannot pass, I'm wondering if people's homeowners insurance will start to cancel them because their properties will be deemed high risk because they can't get access to, I guess, safety measures. Who wants to insure a house that will definitely burn to the ground because the fire truck can't pass? That's one thing. So my concern is with the traffic study. I think this should be paused, and I think they should be required to do a traffic study because no one wants this liability issue, especially the city, because you're creating a hazard. Okay? You are creating a hazard for the resident. And as Mr. Peter Lermont mentioned before, that he had an injury and he couldn't even get an ambulance. And an ambulance is much, I think ambulance might be, about 8 feet wide. And they could not get to the person that needed their assistance. What if someone is having a heart attack? They can't get there. So you're going to create a hazard because you're trying to sidestep by not doing a traffic study. I hope everyone will vote to put this thing on pause. Let's get a traffic study done, a comprehensive traffic study done to keep our residents safe. Because who's going to sleep at night knowing that a vote that you made, okay, is going to cost someone their lives? Because what this is really greed. There's no reason to have such a large building on that corner. And the other thing is, I did not see anything about an elevator. And that's one thing, another major concerns that I always have with ADA accommodations. I didn't see anything about an elevator. And when you spoke about the parking, the stackable parking, and that one unit will go underground. I don't know if you saw that rain we had the other day and the flooding all over. And since that building will be at the bottom of a hill, I would assume that most of the rain will run downhill and maybe flood those underground parking. So was that even addressed? So my concern is put this on pause. Let's get a traffic study done, a comprehensive traffic study. Okay, AM, PM. Okay. So if everyone passes this tonight, at least, or later on, I should say, at least they know that they did what was right for the residents. But right now, not having a traffic study and giving us all this nonsense, legal nonsense, oh, we don't have to do this, we don't have to do that. Yes, I think you should do it. Okay? Do it for the safety of the residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tennant.
Mr. Chairman, Alicia Rodriguez.
Hi guys, I'm Alicia. I live on 487 Mountain View Ave. And my question to you guys is, what value does it bring to bring this apartment building into Orange? I've lived here for 5 years. I'm young to a certain degree, so I came to invest here. And in the last 3 years, my taxes have gone up for $4,000, which brings my mortgage up $300 a month that I, as a millennial, never planned for. So, and I came to understand there's a lot of abatements being happened. And I don't know if that's the same thing as pilot. Again, I'm ignorant. I'm a new homeowner, so I'm still learning. But all of these decisions that the planning board and all the, I guess, permissions to build all these buildings is now having a significant impact on me. And not just on me, but on the whole community. Especially, I have neighbors that have been living here 30, 40 plus years. Their taxes have also gone up significantly. So again, I don't know if the pilot means that you guys get tax abatements or might do that, but that's a concern to me. So what is adding more residential buildings, apartment buildings, adding to us? Like, what are you doing for us? How is that gonna benefit Orange citizens? You would have to convince us of that, because again, we have another 30 apartment building being built right down the street on Mountain View that still hasn't gotten here. It's already causing traffic. Like, it's just so much burden on the citizens for 30 apartment buildings that are probably housing people that will only be here for 2 or 3 years and keep them moving. They're not going to build roots in Orange. So I don't see any benefit in adding more apartment buildings for people that are just looking to live here for a little bit and move on to somewhere bigger, better, whatever. So my question is, what benefit is adding all these additional apartments going to do for citizens and homeowners in Orange that are struggling to keep up with the taxes and everything that's going on here?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
if I may, Ms. Rodriguez, can you please give your address again? I didn't get that.
487 Mountain View.
Thank you.
Attorney Webster, did you want to address any of that?
I think, I mean, it's really not the purview of the board. I mean, we're not asking for an abatement. This is not part of this board's consideration. Our jurisdiction here is simply the ability to build a building, and the building is fully conforming. So I'm not really sure how to answer.
Yeah, but the question was, what is the benefit to Orange in building this building?
Do
What
you
are
have a
you
comparison
bringing
of the
to
taxes?
Orange?
You know what the taxes are going to be and what they are now?
I do not. But I think the question is, the Orange has created a redevelopment plan that has identified this area as an area in need of growth and redevelopment. And we're simply responding to what the zoning allows and what the redevelopment plan allows. I don't think this is the appropriate forum to have this conversation. I think this is a city council conversation. This board's jurisdiction is limited to reviewing the plans and identifying whether or not it conforms to the existing zoning ordinance, which it does.
All right, Madam Secretary. Thank you, Ms. Rodriguez.
Sarah Howell.
Hi, good evening. Thank you so much for having me this evening. Attorney Webster, this is just a
Ms.
question.
Howell,
I'm sorry if I could, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, I'm sorry. I work at 47 Cleveland Street,
47.
Cleveland.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Chair,
if I could, Mr. Chairman.
Point of order. Mayor Warren wants to respond to the last speaker before. All
Chairman,
right.
I'd like to.
When Ms. Howell speaks, okay?
I just wanted to ask the secretary, would she obtain the tax information, the proposed new taxes as opposed to the old taxes on the property, and forward it to the resident so that she has an understanding?
Mayor, my team has just identified the tax number. The current taxes are $18,460. The estimated assessed taxes for the new building will be about $400,000.
Thank you.
All right. We're at Ms. Howe. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Chairman.
I'm sorry,
Um,
I'm sorry, I misspoke. The estimated assessed taxes are gonna be 400,000. But let me, I'm not sure I'm reading this email right. Let me get back to you guys on that number.
All right.
Uh,
Again, Ms. Howe.
Attorney Webster, I think the mayor is asking our board secretary to respond to that question to the resident. So that will come from the planning board office, okay?
Council President.
Okay,
right.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, Mayor Warren, that information is not provided to us, what the
No,
taxes will
I'm
be.
asking to reach out to the assessor, give him the block and lot and what the project is. He'll be able to give the numbers.
Will do.
Thank you.
And then you will provide that to Ms. Rodriguez. Is that the plan, Mayor Warren?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, we're gonna try it again, Ms. Howe.
I will try. I think that will be good information to have for residents in the community to have a little bit more transparency. And I just wanted to ask, in the issue and the criteria that you're using for decision making, I was wondering if this development is part of the Qualified Opportunity Fund program?
I'm not sure I'm familiar with that program. What is that program?
Qualified Opportunity Zone funding are funds that are put together to finance developments in specific tracts. Within Orange, we have 4 of these census tracts, and this is in one of them. So I was wondering if that was part of the evaluative criteria in the decision. There just seems to be a lot of questions about that this evening, and I'm curious, frankly, if you're permitted to speak to that.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Howe. And Tawana Barrett.
Yes.
Good afternoon, good evening. Tawana Barrett, 187 Chapman Street.
Good evening.
Hi, I just wanted to know, the information about the tax, can it be sent to me too? Regarding the difference in the tax.
Absolutely.
And also, it was stated by the attorney that there is a law that there was that property didn't need to do a traffic survey. Can he tell me what that law is?
There are criteria that establish when a traffic study is required. We do not satisfy any of those criteria.
Okay, can you send that so I can read it myself, please?
I think maybe Mr. Wenzel or Mr. Colhane are the appropriate individuals to address that issue for the public.
Yeah, I'm going to very quickly defer to the numbers guys in Mr. Cowley and Mr. Hazel to answer that. There is a critical number that has to be reached. I just don't know what that is.
Okay, can someone get that information and send it?
Mr. Kahane or Mr. Hazel? Okay,
I'm not aware of what the exact criteria are off the top of my head, but I can certainly track that information down and get it to the board secretary so that she can get it to any of you folks who are interested.
Can you send it to all of the participants on this call? Because I would like to see it too. Mary Reed Lermont, 483 Hillside Avenue.
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Yes, Madam Secretary.
I will list my email on the chat. Anyone interested in obtaining this information, please send me an email. I don't want everyone's information to be on the chat if you don't want to disclose that. Send me an email requesting the information and I will gladly provide it upon when the professionals provide that to me.
Okay, and also the tax information for me. Well, can I put that in there with your, with the email to you? Or
Yes,
do
you
you want
can
me
send
to?
me an email directly and request the information, and I will provide. Okay?
Thank you.
You're
Thank you.
And Aisha, Samuel, you've had your opportunity, so you can put your hand down.
I'm sorry, I
you
just
can
wanted
go
to say if I could get an email
Everyone's
about
gonna,
the taxes as
if
well.
you send an email to the board secretary, who her email is in the chat, you can send her an
Okay.
email making your request known. And then anyone that would like any information that has been directed, you can get that information as requested. So
Okay,
please
thank you so much.
just send an email
Mr.
to
Ch-
the board secretary.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, since
Madam
it
Secretary?
looks like not everyone is reading the chat, my email for everyone to take it down is A Reyes, that's REYES @orangenj.gov.